So you've put in the hard work, all of the prep that goes into planning your crowdfunding campaign, and you hit that launch button, and now you're off, and you're starting to see pledges come in. You're starting to see you're getting closer and closer to your goal, and it's a wild, wild ride. So now we're going to talk about how to kind of manage your campaign once it's launched. And for me, I felt like the majority of the planning work kind of went in before I hit that launch button, but it was definitely an emotional roller coaster as I was going through it actually being launched and live. And there was a lot of work to be done there too. So let's kind of talk about that process. So when an artist hits that launch button, what is like the first thing that they should do?
The first thing they should do is post about it on socials and send that email blast out to let their friends and followers know that this thing is live. And then, of course, posting an update to pledgers, thanking them for their contributions and letting them know that there's more to come.
So I remember you shared an interesting bit of information with me when I had launched my campaign, which was, I can't remember the exact statistic, and you might remember, but you want to see a good chunk of your funds coming in within the first 2 weeks?
Within the first week, about 25% of your goal raised is how we sort of gauge if a project is going to be successful or not, and if the goal is realistic.
So kind of what, can you walk us through what the trajectory is of kind of a campaign? So you get your first 25% in the first week, and then what happens?
So there's, that peak in the beginning for that first week, and then there's typically for most of them, there's sort of a lull in the middle, which is important to be posting updates and promoting the campaign on socials, and reaching out to fans directly to try to keep things going. And then towards the end, if you have a targeted campaign, towards the end of the funding deadline to reach the goal, there's usually a rush of pledges at the end as well.
You mentioned updates and posting things on social media. So can you kind of lay out for us the difference between sending an update to the people that have pledged and just posting something on social media?
Sure. So the updates is really exclusive content that you aren't posting anywhere else. So it's sort of your fans' incentive to pledge, because you're providing them with these photos and videos, track clips, even downloads, sneak peek like behind the scenes of this new release that you're recording. And then for socials, it's kind of teasing them with content to try to entice them to pledge.
So how often would you say an artist should send an update?
We usually suggest every 3 to 5 days. But minimum once a week, I think is appropriate.
And then what about posting things on social to kind of entice their fan base to pledge?
Again, I'd say about once a week. Of course, you want to post more often towards the end if you're trying to get people to push you to 100%. But about once a week, I think, is realistic. You don't want to flood people's timelines on socials and stuff like that.
Let's talk a little bit about the language, because I think that's so important when you're running a crowdfunding campaign. We talked a little bit about it in the pre-launch video, but I think so many people when they're running a crowdfunding campaign are saying, give me money, give me money. And they talk a lot about supporting me and giving me money and all that kind of stuff. So can you talk from your experience a little bit about the kind of language that artists should be using and what you've seen works and what you've seen kind of turns people off a little bit?
Sure. So we usually suggest avoiding that crowdfunding language. So don't say help or donate. You really want to make it like your fans are involved in the process with you. Phrases like join us on the ride or, come along on this journey with us, stuff like that, we find is more effective than, asking for help.
The other thing I want to talk about is, artists spend so much time and effort cultivating their brand, right? Like who they are as an artist. And, I think for me, when I was thinking about my crowdfunding campaign, I really wanted people to see kind of another side of me, kind of the more human side, So I was thinking about my brand, right? And all of the text and font was all on brand, but my video itself was pretty personal, and I feel like that was one thing that kind of helped. So when we're thinking about as your crowdfunding campaign is launched, and you're sending these updates and these social media posts, how much of it do you want it to be, on brand, and how much of it do you really want it to be very personal and kind of gritty and behind the scenes kind of stuff?
You want it to be, as rough as possible. iPhone videos, really personal, because that's what makes people feel like they're part of this with you. A lot of people, if they're not musicians, they don't know what a studio looks like. They don't know what backstage at a show looks like, and it's exciting for them to see that content. So yeah, I would say be yourself and make your fans feel like they're part of this with you.
So is there any other advice that you would give an artist who is kind of right smack dab in the middle of their campaign? Donations are coming in, pledges are coming in, and they're just kind of trying to get through it. What would you tell them?
I would say to just remain organized and, on top of your orders, and continue to promote the campaign and engage with your fan base and your pledgers.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for being with us, and good luck, everybody.